If you want to play local, not so much. I think that's a bit more easier because people can just watch you. You're not so far away. But if you want to go further, you want to go from country to country, you need to get your name out there.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa khabar fans Harimau Malaya? Semua sihat? Tak dengar. Let's get. Semua sihat? Barulah seronok, ada semangat kan? Okey, kita jumpa lagi dalam segmen kita podcast Harimau Malaya. Macam biasa kita sembang bola, macam-macam kita nak bawa. Apatah lagi selepas kemenangan Malaysia layak ke Piala Asia ni, ramai betul yang cakap pasal bola. Yang tak pernah sembang pasal bola pun kali ni buat tahu pula dia. Alright, hari ni nak tambah lagi kehangatan, kita ada tetamu istimewa. Fatin, boleh kenalkan siapa yang kita bawa hari ni?
Hari ni kita datang import daripada jauh. Daripada Bosnia, iaitu Hamid, pemain muda yang berasal daripada Malaysia lah. Tapi bermain berpangkalan di Bosnia. Okay. First, Adam, kita nak tanya apa perkembangan you sekarang? Masih main dengan klub yang sama ataupun dah bertukar?
So I was playing for a team called NK Zvezda Gradačac.
Okay, let's get it.
NK Zvezda Gradačac. I was playing with them for one season, and then my contract just ended. So I'm looking to move to another team. Right now I'm in talks with a few teams, but now it looks like I'm going to stay in Bosnia and then play for another team there. Probably going to be the third division there, but it's still unofficial yet. And I return back to Bosnia next month to sign the contract, hopefully.
Okay Adam, untuk yang macam tak familiar dengan Adam lah, so boleh tak cerita sikit posisi mana you main and apa kelebihan Adam kalau atas padang tu?
I've been playing left back for most of my life.
Back.
Yep, and you know, as of recently, I wanted to play more of a winger role. So I've kind of innovated my style of play to be more of a left winger or right winger. Go back to the old style, you know, of like Ryan Giggs, right? Yes. That's one of the players I really like, or like Gareth Bale, those kind of style. But yeah, as of now, it's pretty much left wing or right wing.
Tapi bila seorang left back yang start main offensive kan, dia akan lebih seronok buat attacking atau tetap ada passion?
I mean, that's the thing, because I love slide tackling. So slide tackling is one of those things where when you get it, you know, macam Paulo Maldini, right?
Yes.
That used to be one of my favorite players, and then the way he slide tackles the ball, gets it clean. There's a different kind of feeling behind it. When, you know, the player falls over and you think yourself, macam, like, you get the ball, right? But on the other hand, like, if you attack a lot and you cross and you score a goal, it's the same feeling as a slide tackle. So it's for me really nice feelings altogether.
Finally, kita boleh dapat jumpa seorang pertahanan yang cerita kat kita passion. Dapat tackle orang, dapat tackle bola. Wow, itu something yang baru. Sebab
tackle orang?
Ya, maksudnya selamatkan bola lah. Sebab biasa kalau kat Malaysia, kalau macam budak-budak main, semua nak jadi striker.
Then the worst player is the goalkeeper.
Biasa kalau dekat kampung, orang badan gemuk macam jadi keeper. Alright Adam, boleh tak cerita macam mana? Oh nanti sebelum kita nak cerita pasal career tu, dia punya syarat sah datang sini kena bagi tahu favorite player, favorite team.
Luar dan dalam.
Well, I guess
you follow dalam.
Yeah, I do. Okay. So I know quite a bit. I guess from a local's perspective, somebody I really admire is Amri Yahya. The fact that he played football for so long and he's still playing really well for Sabah. And then I watched the game on YouTube where he scored the hat-trick. So that alone for me was really incredible to see somebody, you know, go from like, you know, from Johor to Selangor and then up back his career in Sabah. That was really nice to see. In terms of local team, I would probably, you know, underdog Sabah for me, just because I like the way they changed the team system and, you know, they went for a different style from last season. They changed the whole team, you know? And the way Ong Kim Sui is holding it, you know, going with the team is really good so far. So yeah.
Okay, kalau international?
From a left back, like I said, Paulo Maldini, my favorite player. Of course, I'm a Man United fan. Yeah, I would not be going like this now. I like this lah.
Tapi Maldini is like a legend lah kan. Kalau current, siapa yang you rasa the best LB?
Andy Robertson for me.
Even I bukan fan Liverpool tapi
I'm not a Liverpool fan, but you know, when you have to be honest, right?
I thought you cakap Luke Shaw. Okay Adam, ceritakan career macam mana boleh bermula di Bosnia.
Yeah, sure. So I had a few contacts when I was in Serbia, and I reached out to them. I showed them my video, and they came to watch me play when I was in Serbia, and they really liked the way I played. And so we said, okay, you know, let's have a sit down like this, and you know, tell me what your project's about. There was a few teams, and one of the team that I joined, Zvezda Gradačac, their project was very promising to me. So they said, you know, we're going to start up again. We're going to build from ground zero, and we're looking to sign new players. And of course, being Malaysian, I'll be one of their foreigners for the next season. So it was something very promising that they gave me the chance and responsibility to come to their team and make a difference in their team. So yeah, I as soon as we started conversing like this, I was like, okay, it's a yes for me. Especially because I lived in Serbia and they speak the same language as Bosnia. It was quite easy for me to transition.
Jangan terpaku.
Aku terpaku dengan
dia kalau nampak lelaki handsome memang dia. Selalu kalau dia tengok iPhone dia macam tu. Alright. So kau tak nak tanya, aku tanya.
Okay, ceritalah apa pengalaman you yang dekat sana, you apa yang you boleh belajar dekat sana, yang you bawa ke sini.
Maybe first cabaran kat sana? Pengalaman lah, pengalaman.
I think one of the hardest things to adapt to was, first of all, the language. Because unlike, you could say Malaysia, maybe only 10% of people speak English. So it's very important to know Bosnian. So if I need to speak Bosnian, or at least understand, you know, I can speak a little bit, but more important. Mogu da pričam bosanski, which means I can speak a little bit of Bosnian.
Kau kata pula sekarang.
Okay, cakap sikit lagi pasal bahasa Bosnia nak tahu, maybe.
Edin Dzeko, Bosnian player. He's like over there, the highest tier, you know. If
the idol.
He's like, you know, Safi Salih of there, you know.
Sikit cakap Bosnia sikit lagi.
Okay, I know after this for sure somebody from Bosnia is gonna watch it and be like, Mogu da pričam bosanski, ali veoma malo. Which means I can speak Bosnian but very little. That is you know, the standard phrase, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Actually bila you mula-mula sampai tu, penerimaan orang Bosnia dekat terhadap orang Asia macam mana?
You know, because where I live, it's a very small village. So to them, when they see somebody foreign, they're like, who is this? What are you doing here? You know, and so they ask me like, oh, I'm playing for the football team, blah blah blah, and then they'll be like, okay, you're the first Asian guy we've met. Now you have to cook for us because we've never tried Asian food, right? So that's what I did for most of my teammates and a few local friends. I made Malaysian dishes. I made the rendang, and then they tried it and they were like, you know, spice. They was gonna spice first time, you know, makan chili. Because over there, chili is not as easy to find. But kalau you buat rendang, letak chili sikit pun dia like, oh, it's a bit hot. I pun tak tahan pedas.
Makan chili.
I tak tahan pedas. I makan rendang, I tak pedas langsung. But for them, it was like culture shock, you know. So that was the first real eye-opening for the Bosnians when I came, was trying Malaysian food, and then I spoke the language, and they were like, oh, you just say random words, you know. So yeah, it was a really nice experience, especially for Bosnians to meet Malaysians, because it's really rare. Most of the time Bosnians would meet Indonesians, but that's a bit more common, I think. You know, a lot of Bosnians marry Indonesians, and that's quite common. But for Malaysia, it's a bit more different. You know, they've never really heard of us.
So, how old were you?
When I moved to Bosnia, I was, I think, 19.
Itu yang untuk somebody yang go abroad and then have to adapt to that kind of culture and the situation.
Betul.
You keluar and you left your family here.
Oh yeah.
Then how you adapt to that kind of? Kalau kita
I mean, okay
lah.
Dengan young age tu
kan.
But
I guess to be fair, the real age I left Malaysia as a whole when I was 13, 14. Because that's when I left to the UK, right? But since then, it's just been building up experience over experience. For example, like if really just at the age of 19, I just left home. The one person who's actually done that I know is Hamza, right? The other guy. Yes, so shout out to Hamza.
Shout out to Hamza, next time you come here.
Ayo, Hamid lah.
Okay, kalau dari segi football pula, apa yang daripada observation you dengan Malaysia punya football dengan kat Bosnia yang you rasa sendiri, apa perbezaan paling ketara?
Well, the thing about Malaysian football, you know, if you just look as far as the national team, right? The national team is doing well in the sense that they're pressing a lot. You can see that the passion is there. But if you really look at core basic football, they're still a bit missing, but the passion is there. Where there's passion, you can build. You know, if there's no passion, nobody wants to play, you can't do anything, right? But if you look a step back and you look at just the local teams, because I like to watch the local teams and I like to have an opinion on things, right? It's still a bit slow in terms of decision making, perhaps you could argue. Where it could be faster, it could be faster. You know, for example, as a player, we always need to know what's next step. For example, if you get the ball, you want to know what to do next, or before you get the ball, you want to know what to do next. I feel like that can still be worked on in Malaysia, but it is heading in that correct direction. Like I said, that is one of the reasons, you know, you watch teams like Johor, you watch teams like Sabah. That is kind of the innovation football they're bringing that other teams are trying to learn as well. And you watch how the way PJ City has been playing lately, it's been really good, very promising, especially with the local talent. So you can see there's a lot more improvement than there was last year. So that's, I mean, from Malaysian standpoint, that's good enough at the moment, right?
Kalau macam dekat Bosnia tu, dia punya permainan lebih pada individual technical ke physicality?
In my opinion, having played abroad for a bit, Bosnia has by far been the most physical league I've ever been to. I comparing to England even, right? Because the thing about Bosnians, there's again that passion behind football. And anything goes, you know, you could pull the guy's baju sampai koyak pun kuning maybe lah, you know, 50-50 ikut the referee on the day. Kalau sakit perut mungkin tak lah, you know, and anything goes with football over there, slide tackling, everything. So from the individual perspective, if you are very technically good, you can play really well in Bosnia. But the thing is, you risk getting injured, right? So there's that risk for reward. But overall, it's a good standard overall in my opinion.
Cabaran you bila masuk dalam klub NK, I tak pandai nak sebut aku, I ni kecam.
Kita panggil NK biasa. NK boleh lah, I faham. Don't go making me cook.
NK boleh kena mama. Okay, masa you masuk klub tu, apa cabaran yang you hadapi first you masuk?
I think again it goes back to language because all my teammates mostly speak Bosnian. Other than language, it would be the mental challenge because number one, I was given such big expectations as a foreigner compared to kalau you dekat Malaysia, foreigners come in but you are all local boys, you know, everyone's Malaysian. It's much more easier, and then the foreigner has to provide something extra. Over there, I am the foreigner and everybody local, so they expect more from you, right? They expect you to be one grade above them.
It's like the Malaysian aspect for
exactly import players to be the best Lionel Messi, you know. So that is the same expectation that was put on me. Now again, I have to live up to that, but of course sometimes you do fall short and you have to keep going up and up and up, right? So that's one of the reasons I decided to change teams, because I wanted to have a better career path for me, and that's important because I wanted to play more games, more minutes, and then, you know, show my quality and then work my way up. So yeah.
Maksudnya dengan NK ni mungkin tactical tu tak sesuai dengan gaya permainan ni?
I felt so. That was one of the things we realized as a team. I couldn't really fit in with the style of play of the coach, which is down to not me as a player, but also not down to the coach. You know, it was just a mismatch at the time, which is okay. It happens. It's a professional thing. Everybody must acknowledge it, and then we just move on. But again, you try to do everything you can, and at the end of the day, if you can't do anything, then it's too bad. You can't change anything, right?
Macam mana prestasi pasukan dalam musim depan?
We finished, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, either 9th or 10th in the table out of 16 teams. Not one of our greatest seasons, but it's the 100th year of the club. So I wish them the best, and I hope next year they'll go up the next division. Amza will play there again next season. So if anything, I hope he brings something for the team next season.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Kalau dekat sana penyokong dia fanatik ada?
Oh yes. We have a derby game. It's one of the crazy. You know, I've been to the Red Star Partizan game before, and that alone was very crazy. You know, there's fireworks, everything going on. But we went to a local derby, 1 hour away, between two teams, and it was crazy. Hooligans, everything going. Yeah, and at some point a fight was breaking out. I was in the stands. I thought I was in trouble, and then you know, especially because I was a player and I wore our polo baju, and the other fans were looking. They're coming towards us, and we're like, "Are we gonna fight?" and you feel so scared, you know. Again, in Malaysia, you don't really have that level of aggression yet. But over there, it's like, like I said, anything goes, right? You know, so suddenly someone's throwing like flares into your crowd, and then we're like, "Alamak, abe ha." So it's kind of like the Indonesia-Malaysia kind of that style.
Rival.
Yeah, that kind of style, right? On a small scale.
Tapi pernah berlaku yang macam penyokong serang pemain dia pernah?
Oh yeah, that's like every Saturday Sunday.
You kan
every Saturday Sunday.
You kan sebagai import kat sana, so orang lokal sana takkan macam tak
dia macam tak protect you.
I mean, that's the thing. You know, end of the day, it's football, right? Fans are very passionate. If their team lose, anything goes, right? If their team win, everyone's a hero, right? So it's like, it depends on the day, right? That's why I say, orang sakit perut ke tak? Kalau tak sakit perut, everything good. Kalau sakit perut, man, be careful all of it, right?
Okay, kita nak cakap different skills yang Malaysian ada, Malaysian tak ada. Maybe orang yang Malaysian play abroad, ada belajar kat sana. Kita nak tahu selain daripada skills in playing football, what kind of skills other skills yang you rasa the Malaysian player should have?
I feel it's very important to have a life outside of the field. So that goes to things like networking. I think that's really important, especially if you want to play football abroad. If you want to play local, not so much. I think that's a bit more easier because people can just watch you. You're not so far away. But if you want to go further, you want to go from country to country, you need to get your name out there. And one way to do it is networking. You need to know people. You need to say, hey, I have a video. Can you try and convince this team, so? That's really important, number one. Number two, you need to have, I would say, a good support system. So if you just did it alone with no support, it is very difficult. But if you had the support of, let's say, your parents, okay, that's good. If you said you have support of your parents and some friends, okay, that's even better. So you build a bigger support system. It's very important as even a young player to go abroad, you must have a support system. Because if you're just alone, it's very difficult to get anything done. And let's say you fail, you have no one to help push you back up. Sometimes you need just a small push, right? And third is about being lucky. You need some form of luck. Yeah, because it's football, right? One day you could play really bad, but there's no scouts. Then the next game you could play like Lionel Messi, and then there's one guy who says, hey, this guy's very good. Maybe I can sign him for this team. And that's all you need. And then from there your career takes off, confidence goes up. That's all. Because at the end of the day, football is a confidence game. You know, you can be really good, but you need to have confidence, right? So other than technical ability, I would say those three aspects is, and you just need to have survival instincts, I would say, because if you can't adapt to different civilization, macam duduk Bosnia, it's not such an easy thing compared to staying in the UK, France. You nak dapat different kind of makanan, pergi shopping. It's much easier, right? For example, where I stay, the nearest shopping mall is 1 hour away. Could you survive not going out to a shopping mall every week? It's like you can, but there's sejam to go there, right? Would you sacrifice? Are you that kind of person? Are you okay to live there? Macam Malaysia, every 10 minutes got shopping mall.
Sebelah ni.
Ni sebelah ni je ada shopping mall, right? So,
okay, kita kata networking.
Right.
Apa peranan agent pada player? Kalau kita sendiri yang cari networking tu.
I think an agent is one of those things. It's kind of like what's it called, like a yellow book. Dulu yang ada phone number, yellow pages, right? Yeah. So that's essentially what an agent is, right? Yeah. I don't know, a yellow book. And so what you can do with an agent is essentially they will give you all the contacts they have. So if they think you're worth their time, they say, hey, I have all these contacts, I can help you out. Compared to me going to reach out to each one of those contacts, I can go through an agent that helps me to reach out, right? Other kind of responsibilities of an agent mostly deal with contract stuff, like for example, they introduce you to mental coaches, physical coaches. So I think the agent's role as a whole is important for a player to access different things. Compared to kalau you nak buat sorang, you have to go and reach one by one. You can do it. It's just that it takes more time. Compared to agent yang ada dia punya system already, right?
Jadi kalau bahasa Malaysia dia pemudah cara lah.
Pemudah cara, betul lah. Yang membantu seorang player tu adalah
Adam kata next season nak main kelab lain kan. Apa kriteria yang you akan pilih daripada kelab-kelab yang offer you tu?
I think the biggest thing for me is minutes. I want to play either full games or above 70 minutes each game, if possible. And for me, salary aside, it is important to get my name and make my name bigger over time. I get a reputation so that people know me. It's important, especially going abroad, because abroad, you're in a big pond, extremely big. It's Europe, so there's like 1,000 players every 5 kilometers, right? Compared to Malaysia, it's a bit easier in the sense that everything is televised. You can go access a lot of places, right? So for me, it's about getting my name, playing really well, and then we're going out from there. For me, my immediate target is to have a good 6 months and try and get out of this team and go up. So best case scenario, right? Yeah.
So kalau you kata 6 months tu, so actually plan you dalam Liga Bosnia is berapa lama lagi?
Honestly, I could see myself there maybe another 2-3 years. I want to at least compete in the first division at some point. And then from there, I wouldn't mind going to another country. Because already I know the basics. That's why I say language is important. Because if I go to, katakanlah, I go to Finland all of a sudden, right? Again, it's a new start. I have to learn language again, not problem. Because I think people will speak English generally, but you have to start again. You have to build your name. At least here, I can build my name to a strong position, and then I can go horizontally. Then I can go to Denmark, then Finland, and maybe work my way up. right?
When will you come back to Malaysia and play for Malaysian team?
Well, that's the thing. I had this conversation with my mom,
Yeah.
and my answer used to be when I was 30, 31. But now the answer has changed slightly because I think it depends on where I am in the world at the time. So, I could see myself playing here abroad for another 6 years, maybe 7 years. But then if it really comes to the point, I say, you know what, I need to go back to Malaysia to, I think I need to come back home to feel a bit comfortable. And once I secure something good, that's when I come back home,
Tapi I suka bila dengar you cakap, you ada clear vision.
Yes.
I suka. Sebab some of players, dia minta orang yang manage dia, orang yang tunjukkan jalan, and dia tak dapat clear picture, dia ikut sahaja, dan dia pun susah nak develop. Tapi kalau you ada clear vision macam you, I percaya dia boleh. Alright, you ada follow tak perkembangan bola sepak tempatan under 23, national team?
I do. I follow. I think I follow pretty much everything local, I think, in terms of the football scene. It's just because, it's just habit, right? I don't really follow the Premier League, the La Liga, but I think the local scene is important for me, at least to know the players, some basic knowledge, right? So yeah.
Kita ada dengar rumours kan, Adam sepatutnya berada juga dalam perancangan skuad bawah 23. Tapi itu tak berlaku.
Bawah 23 atau bawah 19?
Bawah 23 kan?
Dengan
dengan coach Brad Melanie kan?
Macam muda.
So, actually what happened?
Honestly, I have no idea. I was never contacted or anything, which is okay. I was never reached out because I don't know if they have my information, my contact. But I'm sure all those can be arranged at some point. It's not a rush for me because the way I see it currently is, let's say I'm 21 this year. I have another 2 years until I turn 23. So maybe there is something there. But if there is nothing there, that's also okay with me because then I can plan long term. Like I said, I like to plan. So this is kind of a risky planning because it's 2 years. For me, 2 years is a lot, but again, if I get it, it's good. If I don't, it's alright. In terms of the bigger picture, I'm looking at national team. I don't see myself trying to rush into it because if I want to be in it, I want to be playing. I don't want to just sit on the bench. And of course, I appreciate whatever I get, but my goal is to at least be in it and start for the team.
Tapi memang belum ada kontak antara you dengan Brad Melanie, memang belum.
Recently, no. There's nothing now.
Okay. Tapi bila you tengok dia orang main, you dah ada terbayang tak? I akan pakai jersey Harimau Malaya.
Yeah,
I rasa semangat dia.
It's everyone's goal to play for it. Even a small kid also would love to put on that jersey, right? Me myself, when you look at the players, you think to yourself, one day I want to be there. I want to be wearing that jersey and I want to fight for my spot on the team. But only when the opportunity comes based on merit. I don't see myself trying to work my way in based on some connection left, right. I want to work my way in based on merit. And if that day comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, then I can't do anything about it. Right? So I'm okay with that.
Betul. Sometimes player tu excited sangat.
Yes.
Untuk kejar dapatkan bagi saya ruang. Alright. Kita dalam squad under 23 ni ada orang yang macam Adam juga bermain dekat luar. Cuma bezanya setengahnya ada yang tak ada minit. Tapi bermain untuk pasukan bawah 23 dan prestasinya ada masa okey, ada masa tak okey. Adam tengok bagi orang yang player-player yang main dekat luar tapi tak ada minit macam ni, adakah itu baik, perlu diteruskan ataupun apa pendapat you?
At the end of the day, if you look at Kim Bonggam's squad, you can see a lot of them don't really get that many minutes. But when they come, for example, like Shami Fikri, when he came to national team setup, his energy was over the roof. Right? That kind of player, even though he was so underappreciated, but you could see the way he was running for 90 minutes. The passion he brought to the team was something else. If you can do that, then nobody will ever have a problem with you, right? So, again, like I said, football is a game of confidence. Maybe the players who were playing abroad did not have the right confidence at the time, which is okay because you need to build somebody's confidence back up. But the question is whether that was the right time. Mungkin for the SEA Games, it was a good opportunity, but for the Asian Games, maybe not really sure. Maybe we have to rethink the strategies again. But at the end of the day, the decision was made to bring the players. The outcome was there. The outcome is how it is. You cannot really change it anymore. So now the question is, what is next? Like, are these players still going to be on the radar? If they are, then, they also have to realize, it's not good enough.
Macam Luqman Hakim lah kan. Sebab kita tahu dia kira macam kita punya harapan, potential yang untuk jadi hero Malaysia satu hari nanti. Tapi dia bergelut dengan minit. Kalau you pada your observation lah untuk dia, apa yang dia patut buat? Dia cari kelab yang ada minit ataupun dia kekal kat situ sebab dengannya dekat situ intensiti latihan dia pun tetap tinggi.
Right.
Apa yang pendapat?
That's exactly what I'm trying to do as well, because I realize I'm not getting that many minutes. I need to go somewhere else. If I don't do this, then I might regress. I might go back. Because if I go back, that means my career will delay 1-2 tahun, and I cannot have that. As for me personally lah, I don't know, depends on the person. Itulah, dia ada agent. The agent knows what's best for him. I'm not his agent, so I don't know. I cannot say. But for me personally, if I'm not getting minutes and I want to go up, there's no way that's going to happen. Betul kita. Either way, no matter who you are, if you don't play, nobody is going to bring you up. So that's why I made it a mission to go one step lower, so that I can play. And maybe that's what he needs as well. Maybe to go one step lower and then go back up. But again, I'm not his agent, so maybe they have something planned for the near future. I have no idea.
Do you believe in minit permainan ataupun just nama dia dekat luar? Faham tak? Macam
right. Like status.
Dia main kat luar, so dia main. Faham tak? Dia bukan ni kita nampak dia sebagai dia kena ada minit permainan ke tidak. Just that dia main dekat luar, so he should play for national. Dia rasa macam tu.
I feel there is some kind of relevance to that because of the way they train abroad. Whether people can argue this or not, whether they say Luqman didn't play well, but the training intensity is non-negotiable because abroad it is very intense. I'm not trying to say anything offensive on the local side, but abroad the people are really hungry for it because they have another level to go up. For example, Malaysia, you might not necessarily, once you play Liga Super, you might not have something to go up. Maybe to play in Japan, that's the goal, but again, there's such a big jump. For example, in Europe, it's much easier to jump from Belgium Division 2 to 1, then maybe go across to Greece. You know, it's much easier, so very attainable goals. So dia punya training system is very, very intense. So that's why when you say, okay lah, dia punya training dah quite intense, walaupun tak dapat minit, at least we know he's fit. At least we know he's this. So maybe dia boleh influence the boy. At least dia punya maturity mungkin bagus. You know? So then you bring him to the team, you hope dia boleh jadi something sebagai leader or something like this. Again, I have no idea. I've not personally met Luqman or Hadi, so I don't know.
Just personal.
It's your point of view. Yeah.
Okay. Sebagai anak Malaysia yang bermain di luar, apa pendapat you tentang soalan ni klise ya, tentang bila kita ambil pemain-pemain naturalisasi? Apa pendapat you?
I think honestly it's a good idea. It's good early on because that's when you need some players to show something a bit different. You know, it's a good thing. For example, when I used to watch Liridon play, I traveled all the way to Kedah one day to watch him play when he played for Kedah. And that was one of the best football games I enjoyed on the local scene because at the time Liridon was playing really well.
Yeah. And during Kedah time is very
yes, and I really enjoyed. And Shazwan Zain was on the wing. It was a really nice game to watch, and the skills he brought. I said, you know, if this guy play for national team, he might be able to influence the style of play a bit. You know, bawa sikit flair, because that's what Malaysians need sometimes, a bit of flair, something a bit different, right? And you can see over time, walaupun the project hasn't gone too well, at least ada influence sikit, you know. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to slate the bola or not, at least he bring that last few games he brought some passion to the team, right? So for me that's important. Yeah, at least he brought something to the team that's a bit passion that you know you can get lah from people who naturalized, right?
Actually at the very beginning, Sumare, Liridon memang dia play very good part lah. Memang very, boleh katakan kalau kita tengok impressive lah.
Influential, exactly.
Yes, betul. Yes. Tapi dia maybe sebab again kekurangan semangat Malaysia ni kot. Maybe dia dah makin lama makin menurun.
Lack of minutes perhaps. You could argue, right?
So satu pula isu sekarang bila kita dah ramai keluarkan, oh rupanya banyak talent kita bermain di luar yang kita sebelum tak kenal. And maybe sekarang pun orang dah tahu ada Hamid ada kan. So bila kita kumpulkan besar pool tu, mungkin kita perlu panggil semua cuba dalam satu masa untuk
if in my opinion, if you wanted to call everybody, it would be very difficult, obviously. But the SEA Games was a very good opportunity to call these players because I'm not 100% sure, but I think they said that the SEA Games, they're not going for the win. If that was their intention, then they should have brought maybe a bit more of a mixed squad, and then Brad can focus on the under-23 squad. You know, bring a different coach ke apa ke, just bring him for exposure. Bring this player, siapa yang bagus bawa under-20. If not, at least lah, you boleh test the system.
Yes.
You know, it was a good chance. Okay, it didn't happen. And again, if you want to call everybody, it's a big pool. It's a big pool. And some players you might see not matching the style of play. Some players you might see they're not fit because of minutes. So again, you're going to have this really jumbled up squad, and you're not going to have somebody that's a leader For example, if you include 1, 2, 3 of the Malaysia under 23 boys, boleh lah kita build something around that, right? So again, if you just brought all of us together, we also a bit pening, you know. It's very difficult for us to make something out of this camp because we've never played with each other. And I think it'll be difficult, but overall, at some point, I think it needs to be tested. This theory needs to be tested whether it is worth it or not. You know, you cannot just call 1, 2 players and then put that whole broad thing on 2 people. You know, for people like me, it's a bit unfair, but it is end of the day coach's choice, right?
Tapi you cakap pasal fit to the style tu, you rasa dengan gaya permainan Eropah you, kalau dipanggil, you perlu masa lama tak untuk adapt? You rasa?
I think personally not, but I think one thing that's going to be kind of difficult for me to, it's of course linking up with teammates. I feel that's very important. You know, in the national team, you want the best players that not only individually are good, as a team they are good. Because at the end of the day, if you have good players, they don't play well, it's no use also, right? So if you have a very good chemistry, you can win at almost every game. So I think when I join a team like this, it is very important to establish friendship first, build chemistry, and then we play football. It cannot just be you know, like for example, Dion Kos, the first few games was a bit rough, but now you see the way he's adapted to the team, and it takes time.
Betul.
You cannot just hope for one camp and then terus everything will go well, right? So, yeah.
Okay, cerita lagi pasal Teraton tadi.
Sebab kita dengar statement daripada seorang pemain Thailand. Dia kata Thailand sekarang dah level Asia, bukan Asia Tenggara. So dia prefer lepas ni kalau level Asia Tenggara dia hantar junior team. You rasa itu adalah satu langkah yang baik yang Malaysia perlu tiru, ataupun itu ruang sebenarnya Malaysia untuk jadi gegasi Asia Tenggara bila Thailand tak fokus pada Asia Tenggara?
I'm not sure if this is correct, but I think SEA Games is not recognised by FIFA, right?
Yeah.
And Thailand finished second, right?
Second.
Vietnam first.
Yeah, betul.
So if that's the case, he's correct. They send how many players are brought in the next camp? 10 players, right? So that means that statistic alone says, yeah, we don't have to send our first team to the SEA Games. We can just send whoever. Win or lose, they get exposure. For Thailand's bigger body system, that's a good idea.
Yes.
Sebab the lower level players dapat exposure, the higher level players go to the bigger tournament. It makes sense. Malaysia, we cannot do that for one reason. Because if we do that, for example, the SEA Games, we didn't take the risk. But because we wanted to prepare for the under 23 games. So you see, like we under 23 games, we didn't play too well. The SEA Games also we didn't play too well. So it's like we haven't pecah that barrier lagi, tau.
Kita pun tak ada pool yang banyak macam Thailand kot.
Perhaps.
Sebab yang kita gunakan player yang sama dekat SEA Games and AFC, sebab itu je yang kita ada.
Well, that's the thing. If, like I said, if you look at the abroad pool, there's a lot. It's just that you need to take the step today and not wait for the next tournament to fail and then you take the step, right? That's important. You need to say today, hey, all your abroad players, okay, we are considering all of you now. We're in serious deep water. Let's at least try something. Say, okay, if you can come to Malaysia for a bit, train with us for a bit, then we can see. And you can see Kobe came here, Jamie is here. Yep. That's a good opportunity to see what they're about, see if they're good, and then we go from there. But you need to call more. You cannot just call 2 people, right? 4 people. Tak cukup. You need a bigger pool. And again, for example, in the camp, they had some GDT 2 players that were missing. I can't remember the name. I think it's
Ramadan.
No, there's a centre mid. Darasham was not there. I think he's a good player, in my opinion. He was not called up in the camp. Again, I don't know why or whatever, but this is the kind of people you need to consider. You need to look more than just the people you've called. Look a bit bigger at the bigger picture and then say, okay, we have these people who pernah call up dulu. We need them again. Give them a chance. For example, like Saravan, who played in Penang, good player.
Yes, betul.
Unfortunate not to get called. Yeah, and I remember watching the game before the camp. He scored, I think, 1 or 2 goals.
Betul.
That is a good opportunity for him to come back and improve himself again. You know? So, yeah.
Tapi basically untuk dapatkan result yang baik bukan setakat pemain, bukan setakat jurulatih, management juga. Sebab kalau you tengok preparation kita sebelum kesukan SEA tu sangat mengecewakan. Kita dapat assemble semua full team hanya 3 hari sebelum. Imagine you ada 3 hari untuk berkumpul.
Exactly. So again, you can't really. That's why, like I said. But that's the thing. They told everybody that SEA Games is not the target. If you're not targeting gold, that means the whole SEA Games you should technically prepare for the next tournament, correct?
Betul.
If that's really what you aim for. But if you betul-betul nak menang SEA Games, then okay, 3 days really not enough time. But at least you do your best and you finish 4th. Okay lah. That means your preparation should always have been for IFC under 20. There is no double question about it, right? So, walaupun that 3 days you plus the whole tournament 2 minggu, come on, that's 17 days. telling me you couldn't prepare a team in 70 days, at least there's something there, you know. It's not 4 days for the biggest tournament, right? So, yeah, that's my thoughts.
Kalau macam dekat Bosnia, dia punya persiapan untuk pasukan kebangsaan macam mana? Dia nampak lebih tersusun, sistematik?
Honestly, I have no clue about that, but I am in contact with the under-21 coach of Bosnia. And he was at a camp, and I was messaging him back and forth just to get some ideas. And you know, I was curious enough to find out more about the camp. What is it like? Maybe I can compare it to the Malaysian camp. And he was telling me, yeah, our preparation started 2 weeks ago. They've done a whole full 2-week camp for the first friendly game. And they had like a closed door friendly game the first week, but it was nothing too serious. They wanted to just test players, bagi dia lari sikit. But I think it's important to have for example, like this team, you cannot say they're all new faces. Semua dah kenal, semua dah tahu. So each player should know roughly how the other one plays, right? There's no, for example, like Thailand brought 10 players. Some of them have met for the first time. So you can argue there's no chemistry yet between the players. So how do you transition that onto the field straight away? Tanpa you buat apa-apa, you have to transition 10 new players who've never played with each other onto the field. Kalau kita punya Malaysia system, we didn't bring anyone, I guess, new to the camp, right? So that means everybody has played with each other at some point. So this should be a team that relatively knows each other. So you tak ada masalah sangat dengan segi chemistry. More of the fact that maybe dia punya match minutes tak cukup, dia punya confidence kena bawa. So arguably, it should have been able to be accomplished. Arguably, right?
I teringat kata-kata Jojo Cellini bila dia umumkan bersara hari tu. Dia kata dia kecewa dekat Thailand pula, dekat Italy sekarang terlalu ramai pemain import. And benda yang sama juga berlaku kat Jerman bila di media sekarang dia berkatakan dah tak ada ketandusan penyerang lokal. Sebab dekat liga pun semua dah guna yang luar. So dekat Bosnia macam mana kaedah dia mengekalkan talent?
Well, compared to like a lot of the other first division leagues, we don't actually have a lot of import players.
Dia ada kota?
I'm sure they do. Even the first division, the best team, FK Sarajevo, arguably, does not have that many import players. So they try to keep the talent as local as possible, and it's also to save costs, because the more import players you have, the more wage you have to distribute, right? So, especially, I'm not really sure about how many imports FK Sarajevo have, but that alone being said, one of the biggest teams in Bosnia don't have any import players. I think so. And that just speaks numbers, because if you think about that, all these players can be called for the national team. But I think only a few players will get called, because most of Bosnia's national team, for example, they all be playing abroad. Right? So Zeko plays in Milan. And, you know, just to consider that fact alone, you can see how the local system, walaupun bagus, walaupun the players are really, really good, they look elsewhere. They look at the players who are playing elsewhere. And so for Germany, it shouldn't really necessarily be a problem if their local players aren't as good, because the league is really good. But you can also look elsewhere. For example, macam Timo Werner is playing in Chelsea.
Yeah.
You cannot argue that's a bad club. You know? So arguably, it doesn't have to be as local anymore. The times have changed where not necessarily the local league is the best. Right?
Dia dah level tinggi lah maksudnya. Okay, ada apa lagi? Saya nak tanya. Oh, jadi kalau tak stop ni panjang ni sembang. Seronok kita dengar.
Sembang lagi.
Pengalaman kan. Pengalaman.
Okay, last lah Adam.
Sure.
Apa harapan you untuk career you dekat Bosnia, and then sebagai Malaysian, harapan bola sepak dekat Malaysia?
Yeah, I think it's important to get our ranking up, our FIFA ranking. It's taken a positive turn to I think 147 right now. But I think Thailand's also sitting about 111, 101. I'm not really sure. But you see, we need to reach that point at someday. And if you want to reach that point, everything needs to progress upwards. So again, the local scene has taken an amazing turn. That's the first step. The national team is doing well, so another great step. But then maybe kalau kita tengok belakang sikit, we look at the youth level. If there is something that can be improved, I would say it's the youth level. That's all. Once that gets improved, because there's an argument saying that the youth players do not get enough minutes, which might affect the future. So for now, everybody's happy because we got the Asia game, whatever. Fine. Next 3 years, we are okay. Next 10 years, maybe not so, because our local players are not getting minutes. By the time they get the minutes, it might be a bit too late. They are already 23, 24, and it's a bit difficult for them to progress. You know, and they might wait for them to 28 years old, then Baru you can see result again. Why don't we prioritize that now and prioritize these local boys getting minutes? How you want to do it, that is completely up to you. You can just send all these players abroad. for no reason, just send all of them abroad and give them the exposure they need. Because when they stay in Malaysia, you already have such a big pool and not enough teams. You can go to the M3, tapi M3 is not as competitive as the Liga Premier, which is not as competitive as Liga Super, right? And you want these boys to play in Liga Super team. So it's either you increase the amount of Liga Super teams, which is again cost and everything, or you just send these people to another country and just hope they do better. For example, Thailand, Vietnam, whatever. But at least you teach them about life and you teach them about football, and you hope they come back matured enough that they can carry the team. So yeah.
Actually, bila cakap pasal ni teringat, kita pernah buat satu keputusan yang pada I sangat brilliant. Kita pernah hantar skuad Harimau Muda bermain di Liga Finland dulu.
Yes.
I think projek khas macam tu perlu ada. What do you think?
I think that was it under coach?
Masa tu I tak ingat lah.
Okay, but I think that team was really good. I think that project alone is very good because you expose people to much different system. Cold weather, European style football, and all in like a really quick short span of time, right? Compared to if you go live abroad, sorang-sorang, you have to adapt to locals. But you went with your local boys. Everybody knows each other. You guys are a team already in Malaysia, and you went there. I think that project is similar to something that's happening in Singapore right now. I can't remember the team, but they have a Japanese-based style team, and I think that would be a really good idea. It doesn't have to go that far. You can just go to yes, that's it.
Fandi, one of the Fandi, Ilhan.
Exactly. So instead of going maybe as far as Europe, you can just go to Asia, somewhere in Asia as a start. And that's the thing. Even though, for example, the FAM MSN project is such a good project, but I think to me it's a bit too young. You need at least 1-2 leader, 20 tahun. They play well, but you need some 1-2 players.
And bila you terlalu kerap kalah pun, you akan
as a player, you also don't have motivation to play. You feel like, hey, this project's not working, I need to get out of here. And then everyone's also feeling it's not working. I know that feeling. Especially in a team of young players, that nobody has that leadership role yet because you all went to school together. It's very difficult. So how do you achieve the next level? You have to send them somewhere else, maybe even Singapore, right? So something along those lines.
Yang dia cakap ni semua aku setuju.
Aku kat sini angguk je.
Ada nak tanya apa?
Ada possibility tak kalau you can help other Malaysian to going abroad?
Yeah, I've been asked this question. Like, people ask me, what do I need to do? And if you have something that you can advise me, do you have an agent? Even from the Bosnian perspective, they ask how can they go and play Malaysia?
Oh.
I know it's the reverse story. I said that one I cannot help. Sorry, kita punya quota penuh sangat. But if you want to go abroad, I'm always open to conversing with people. I'm back in Malaysia for a month. I would go and sit down with people and tell them what they need to do, because the steps are relatively easy. It's just whether you have the maturity and independency to do all those. Because if you ask me, it's setakat just meeting like this, having coffee, talking about life, and then say, hey, if you have some kind of connection, could you just put me through? That is the first step. You can humble yourself gila-gila, because if you think you are the best player in Malaysia and you cannot sit like this to have coffee and ask for something, then you'll never go anywhere. So you have to sit like this, talk, and talk about connection, and say, maybe one day I help you, then one day if you need to come abroad, I will help you too. That kind of thing. You need to do those kind of things, because in the long term, that's how you build your system. You cannot go play abroad by yourself. It doesn't work like that anymore. It's too difficult, because you need to find people. Let's say example Bosnia, right? How are you going to connect to Bosnia? It's so difficult just to email one team that doesn't speak English. That's the first problem. They don't speak English, right? So that alone one problem. So you need to know people, you need to have meetings. I'm always down to meet people. Always down to just sit with somebody and then they ask me, how do you do it? What can I do? And I don't even charge money. Maybe best satu teh tarik macam ni punya style. Kopi macam ni. Lepas tu bagi kek sikit, lepas tu ais krim. Cukup lah. Yeah.
Ingat tu Yus, kena belanja kopi. Dengan kek.
Does anyone in player muda in Malaysia that you recognise their talent that good enough to play abroad?
Yeah, I think everybody at the age of 17, 18 is very good. Relatively, everybody knows how to play football. It's just what happens after that. After you habis, there is this thing which it's in my head lah. But once you habis SPM, the players don't know where to go from there. They go to Belia, or there is like the Belia players. Maybe we say 400 players. Let's say the rest 1,500 don't know where to go, because their career macam okay lah. It's either I didn't make Belia, I definitely cannot go president, so I stopped playing football. But those are the players that if they fight a bit more, maybe they'll become the better players, right? Maybe these are the players that have to go abroad to discover themselves. Because the people who play billiard, yes, they have security, yes, I think they get money and they're in that shell. But once you get released, you don't have anywhere else to go. And in billiard, only a few make it to president. And you see slowly, chop. But all these players are very good. Relatively, in that space, they're very good, very creative. You can watch the billiard game, you can see how they're playing with the ball. It's very inspirational. But when you go up one level, they start cutting the players by half. Then president, you cut players by not even half, probably 75% get cut. Because the team players that make it to first team is very little. So then the rest of these teams, what they do? Two things, either M3, M4 or Social League. And when you play Social League already, you're like, okay lah, I cannot make it abroad. You know, that is the common sense, right? Social League, I cannot make it abroad. M3, M4 pun you think, okay lah, maybe next year I M3, next year I... But that doesn't happen relatively easy. So it's about finding the time when you should go abroad. And a lot of these players can, it's just that, do they want to do it or not? Do they have the... And the thing is, when you consider going abroad, that there's no risk. You just dream about going abroad. To do the steps, that is when you start taking action, but to dream it alone is enough. The next thing to do is just go find options. Talk to people like me, talk to agents, talk to people that pernah main abroad. And then see what is the life like. If it's for you, then you go. But if it's not, then you say, okay, then I can focus local scene. Tapi kalau tak, if you have the opportunity to go abroad, and you don't use it, will it bite you in the future? Are you going to stop playing football forever? For me, it's important that I continue this thing because I not only want to play football, but I also want to inspire people. So when I come back, it's important I talk to people and then they know, okay, if they want to do it as well. If they want to do it, I say I can help you, but you also have to help yourself lah. End of the day, right? You want this, you have to do it yourself.
Tapi sebenarnya cerita daripada negara kita nak hantar talent pergi luar tu banyak kali dah.
Yes.
Tapi dan banyak kali juga terjadi player tu sendiri yang tak kuat, homesick, and tak semua yang ada determination macam you tau.
Lepas
so apa
balik,
yes, biasanya alasan homesick lah. So kalau you boleh bagi advice kepada player yang budak-budak muda yang ada plan nak keluar ni, apa you advice tu?
So I pretty much this last year was very mentally challenging for me. It was probably the hardest year of my life. Because I think I almost quit football 4-5 times. Easily, hands down. I almost told my mom, hey mom, I want to go back home, I'm done with this.
After we interviewed you?
Yeah. Yes, after that interview. I was like always contemplating, should I just go back home? I had problems with the club, I had problems with the management, I wasn't getting minutes. It was a whole mess. Okay, it took, this is the real story, right? This is open story now. It took 8 months to do my paperwork. 8 months, and can you imagine as a player, every day you train but you don't play. You watch your friends play but you don't play. You say, okay lah, really, either God hates me or this is not meant for me. I should go home. This is just... But I said, I'll stick it out for a year. Because I said, if I went home, how many people would I have to face that I said, oh, you weren't good enough. And also I would hate myself in the next year. I would say like, hey, I really mental lemah. Because I went there, I risked so much and I didn't even wait. I couldn't wait 1 year. I tunggu 2-3 bulan dah quit. For me, I'm not that kind of guy. Because if I'm like that, I would be no different from everyone else. And I cannot hit that. So the only way you can go abroad is if you have that kind of mindset where when things get really rough, man, I will stick this out until the end. I will just try and rise a bit. Because now I tell the story, it's not so intense. But my friends that were there, for example, Amza even knew my situation, the mental strength it takes to overcome this, not even one day. The week you have to see the same people knowing you're not going to play, and then you want to travel to the game but you're not going to play. You just watch the game and you say, okay, maybe next week my paperwork habis. Then maybe next week 8 bulan you do that, and then when you get the paperwork you still don't play enough time. So there's a lot of challenges, but the biggest thing is to be mentally strong. Physically strong is something completely different, but mentally and emotionally is something completely different. And that's one thing I would say I have greater than a lot of people that I know, is that my mental strength, having done this year that was really painful. So if you want to play abroad, I think the mental strength, you must have that capacity. Yang you nak pergi sana, tapi I akan cuba yang terbaik. Bukan setakat 1-2 weeks, bukan setakat sebulan 2, a year. I need to give myself 1 whole year where I menangis setiap malam. I tak ada kawan.
To sacrifice everything.
Exactly. It's just 1,000 lonely nights for that one day where you feel very happy playing football. And I'm all about that, right? So, yeah.
Wow. Aku dengar benda ni pun rasa bermah, rasa nak jadi muda balik. Okay guys, itu sahaja rasanya yang dapat dikongsi bersama dengan Adam Hamid untuk kali ini. Jangan lupa subscribe YouTube channel kami, download apps terbaru, follow semua social media. Apa je kita ada, Din?
Website kita ada,
Facebook, IG, Twitter. Nak tengok Fatih menari, tengok TikTok kita, okey? Alright. Kalau anda nak tengok konten-konten macam ni lebih banyak lagi, support kami selalu dan pastikan kita jumpa lagi, okey? Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.